Hey there viewers, we're here at the Games Repository taking a look at the cards of Tarkir spoilers ready for the pre-release this weekend. I'm Thraice, and you all know, BritGeek. So we're going to be looking at it starting in colour order, following the collector's numbers, and I hope you enjoy it and find what we're going to be saying useful. So now to cut to the cards.
Okay guys, right. We're going to be starting with white. So, card 1 is Abzan, Battle Priest, which is a 4-drop, 1 white human cleric creature with 3/2 power. Now this carries the Outlast ability, which is you pay, whatever they say in this one is 1 white, tap it, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and it's also got the effect that each creature you control with +1/+1 counter on has lifelink. Quite useful. It's a 4-drop for 3/2, so that's quite expensive, but you've only got to pay 1 white to buff it up then. And then this lifelink thing, as soon as you buff it once, it gets lifelink itself, so I think that's quite a handy card.
Yeah, for the mana cost, it's not a bad card at all. Definitely powerful in limited. Okay, so next up we have Abzan Falconer. 2 colourless, 1 white for a 2/3 human soldier creature, also with Outlast, same cost of 1 white. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has flying. Not bad. Always good to give things evasion.
Yeah. Then we've got Anok Bond Kin, which is a 2-drop, 1 colourless, 1 white for a 2/1, with the Outlast of 2 mana, and tap it, put a +1 counter on it, and each creature you control with +1 counter on it has first strike. So just looking at all these 3 together, if you manage to outlast all of them, you're getting lifelink, first strike, and flying, which is one heck of a combination, really. The only thing you've got to remember about Outlast is that you can only do it as a sorcery action. You can't do it as at instant speed, so you can't. Yeah. You can't do it in response to an attack or something like that, so there's no tricky combat abilities going on there.
Taps down the creature as well, which is annoying.
Yeah. Could be quite useful. Definitely in limited is going to be a lot of fun, but we'll see how much play it gets outside of limited, although if you're playing a counter deck, could be quite good.
So next up we have Alabaster Kirin. 3 colourless, 1 white for a 2/3 Kirin creature with flying and vigilance. Pretty well costed creature. 4 mana for a 2/3 with 2 abilities, and they're 2 pretty useful abilities. Flying is a great evasion ability, and vigilance means you can block with it as well. Really, really strong creature in limited. Really strong. Be a good pick.
Good bomb for being in limited. You drop that turn 4, flying in limited, brilliant. And your vigilance means that you can defend with it, and it's 2/3, so that's quite good. I'm surprised it's only a common. I think we'll be seeing a lot of those in play.
Yeah.
On pre-releases and releases days. Alright, next up is Brave the Sands, which is a 2-drop, 1 colourless, 1 white enchantment. Creatures you control have vigilance. Each creature you control can block an additional creature. Makes things very interesting. I like the ability to give everything vigilance for 2 mana, and multi-blocking can make your chump blockers really, really useful. A 1/1 that's blocking 2 heavy creatures without trample could be a very useful tactic.
Yeah. It's not a bad little enchantment. I quite like it. 2 mana to give vigilance is pretty good. Yeah. So, next up, Dazzling Ramparts. 4 colourless, 1 white for a 0/7 wall creature with defender, of course. 1 colourless, 1 white, tap it, tap target creature. It's a very high cost for not a lot of benefit, especially in the uncommon slot.
If you haven't played M15, then you're not going to be aware of what Defender does. So Defender stops you from attacking with this creature, which, seeing as it's a 0/7, isn't going to be a massive layback for you. I can see this being useful in limited because of the 7 defense. If you're on turn 5, you put that down. Unless they've got flying, they ain't going to get through your defense for a long time. But outside of that, I don't think we're going to see much play.
No, I don't think so.
Then we've got Defiant Strike, which is a 1-drop white instant. Target creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn, draw a card. I just like the fact that you've got a 1 white card draw. The +1/+0 could be interesting for combat effects. Yeah, I think you're looking at that for the card draw.
Yeah, it's a really good cantrip. It's nice to be able to draw cards in white. It's essentially 1 white mana to draw a card, but you also get a +1/+0 creatures. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So next up we have End Hostilities. 3 colourless white sorcery. Destroy all creatures and all permanents attached to creatures. What we have here is a new version of Wrath of God in a lot of ways. 1 extra mana, but it also blows up permanents attached to creatures, so essentially that's targeting equipment more than anything else.
And your enchantment creatures that came out of the last block, which are still going to be legal in standard, so this is their kind of...
That's true.
This gets rid of ordeals and it gets rid of bestow creatures
that's
as well.
A good point. I think this is a good card. It's going to be a staple in control decks in standard. I probably won't see much play in modern, to be completely honest with you. There are better options.
I don't think we're going to see a lot of play in limited either, because if you think we're playing 3 colour decks here, getting a double white drop is going to be very difficult. I think people will put it in, but I don't think they'll get to play it as often as you need. But then you've then got to pull out lots of creatures afterwards to make it worthwhile.
It could be alright if you manage to get yourself a control-y type hand. If you're playing draft, that's slightly harder to do, but still possible. And if you're playing sealed, if you get the right cards, could be useful. But yeah.
Okay, next up we've got a Raise, which is a 1 white drop instant, exile target enchantment. A really nice removal in white.
Yep.
I think this is going to see a lot of play across the board, to be honest. 1 drop white to remove enchantments. I like how they've included a bit of blue and a bit of green into the colour art there. That it's quite a nice little hint towards the fact that blue doesn't really kind of remove things as much as control them. So they're kind of levelling out blue in this set, I think.
Yeah.
White, sorry.
I think what's quite nice to note here as well is that it's a brilliant sideboard against those decks that use the pesky gods.
Yes, because you exile it, you don't destroy it.
Yeah.
So we're getting a lot of answers to stuff that was high stakes in Theros.
Yep, leads me to think that the standard deckscape will really, really change quite a lot.
And it's not a lot to really play these cards. There's some nice blue ones coming up as well later on.
Yeah, so next up we have Feet of Resistance. 1 colourless, 1 white instant. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It gains protection from the colour of your choice until end of turn. This is a nice little card. It's 2 mana to give a protection, so you can save one of your creatures from a spell, make it unblockable, use it to block a big creature. Also gets a +1/+1 counter, which works quite nicely with the Outlast stuff we saw earlier.
Yeah.
Quick and efficient way to put +1/+1 counters on creatures and get an extra benefit.
I quite like it. It will save your creature by giving it protection. Nice card. Very, very good card. Once again, I'm surprised this is a common, but I think it'll be really good in limited, and once again another card that I think we'll see a lot of later on. So next up we've got Firehoof Cavalry, which is a 1 drop white for a 1/1. So already I'm loving this card. Anything limited that's a 1 drop for a 1/1 I'm happy with. And then you've got this added bonus of 3 colourless and a red, gets +2/+0 against trample until end of turn.
Yeah.
So you ramp it up to a 3/1 to go over the top of something not too bad. Not the best card out there. Late game, turn 4, maybe you can shoot this off and get a little bit of extra damage, but maybe you want to buff this up before you kind of hit it.
You're right, it helps to keep it slightly more relevant as the game progresses if it's not dealt with early on. Not a bad limited card.
Right, next up we've got Herald of Anafenza, which is a 1 drop white for a 1/2. So that's even better than your 1/1. It's an Outlast of 3, 2 colourless, 1 white, tap it, put a counter on it. But when you do this, you put a 1/1 white warrior creature token onto the battlefield. So you're paying 3 mana to ramp this guy up by 1 and get a 1/1 token out of it as a chump blocker. I quite like it.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
Definitely strong in limited. Could see some play in the right constructed decks. We'll see, particularly in casual, possibly in competitive. So here we have High Sentinels of Arashin. 3 colourless, 1 white for a 3/4 bird soldier creature. It's got flying. High Sentinels of Arashin gets +1/+1 for each other creature you control, with a +1/+1 counter on it. And 3 colourless, 1 white, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. It's a pretty good creature. 4 mana for a 3/4 with flying is already a bit of a limited bomb. But it also gets buffed by your other creatures with Outlast or other +1/+1 generating abilities like we saw earlier. But it also has a way to activate some of your Outlast guys that have the effects like giving them all lifelink, all creature +1/+1 counters on them, lifelink, flying, whatever. He's pretty good. I like this guy. He helps make Outlast a bit more relevant.
Yeah, I think this makes Outlast viable as something extended where you're going to be running +1 counters on things. If you can get a lot of minions out, alright, it's 4 mana to activate it, but you're not tapping anything.
No.
So you could, if you've got a lot of ramp going in, pay an 8 mana turn and put 2 counters on something and give them the lifelink, the first strike, all that kind of stuff. It could be a pretty amazing card.
Yeah.
Then we've got Jeskai Student. So of course this is our first Jeskai card. This is a 2-drop white, 1 colourless, 1 white for a 1/3. So that's pretty amazing. We're seeing some really, really uber cost-effective cards coming out in this set.
Yeah.
Silly cards. And this is the Prowess ability. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 till end of turn. So you dissipate or you do something blue related and he becomes a 2/4, which is a pretty awesome card. I don't see him being excessively powerful. I know you like Prowess as an ability. I would need to see it in play and actually muck about with it and see what it works with. But I think it's a little bit too tricksy for my liking. So, but as a 2-drop for a 1/3, I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah, it's a good spell. And definitely worth noting that it does say whenever, so it can get more than +1/+1 if you cast enough spells.
Yep.
Pretty good. So, next up, Kill Shot. 2 colourless, 1 white, instant, destroy target attacking creature. Really good white control card. White gets a lot of control these days, which is good for it. Pretty strong card. Definitely brilliant in limited. Could see some play as a budgetary card in constructed.
Bit expensive at a 3 cost.
Yeah.
But it is at instant speed. Yeah.
Yeah, not bad.
No. Okay, next we have Mardu Hateblade, which is a 1-drop for a 1/1, and it has pay black mana and it gains Death Touch until end of turn. That's quite nice. It's not quite Typhoid Rats or anything like that. You've got to pay that little extra every time you want to hit your Death Touch, but knowing that you have a possible Death Touch and you've got a Swamp untapped, could be quite a powerful bluffing action for you when you're blocking. And of course this will be getting +1 counters on it from the rest of the cards in the set and then giving it additional things.
Yeah, well, it could be quite good. So next we have Mardu Horde Chief. 2 colourless, 1 white for a 2/3 human warrior creature with Raid. When Mardu Horde Chief enters the battlefield, if you attacked with a creature this turn, put a 1/1 white soldier creature token onto the battlefield. This is a pretty good ability. So for 3 mana you get a 2/3, and if you've done your turn order correctly, you also get a 1/1. So for 3 mana you are essentially getting 3/4 worth of creature out of it. I quite like this guy. I think he's quite strong. I'd probably play him if I was playing white in limited.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, nice place for your 3-drop, really. So next up we got Master of Perils, which is a 2-drop colourless white 2/2 human monk. So already 2 colourless for a 2/2. And it's got the morph ability, so that's you pay 3 colourless mana, you pay to play it on the table as a 2/2. So there's lots of nice little things that you can do with this if you haven't quite got the mana that you need out of your 3 colour deck already. You can still get something out of this card. It's not just going to be sat in your hand thinking, God, all I need is a plains and I can play it. You can still get this out on turn 3 as long as you're drawing a land each turn. Then you've got a 5 mana cost for it to turn face up, but when it does, creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn. And you can do this at any time. So you can do this in the middle of combat. Someone assigns attackers, it's just a 2/2. It's still a 2/2 when it flips, but it becomes a 4/4 because it affects itself as well. So nice little combat trick there. Everything else gets a 2/2 bonus. Could be quite a handy card. Nice little card, really.
Yeah, it's not bad. Next up, Rush of Battle. 3 colourless, 1 white for a sorcery. Creatures you control get +2/+1 until end of turn. Warrior creatures you control gain lifelink to end of turn. So we can see a little bit of a tribal theme for warriors coming into the set here. It's quite a lot of mana to cast to give creatures you control +2/+1, especially at sorcery speed, which is a bit of a shame. But if you're playing majority warriors or all warriors, giving them lifelink as well as +2/+1 makes it seem slightly more worthwhile.
Good little sideways card. Play before you attack, swing in, and then mop everything up afterwards. Could be a strong card, I think, in Limited.
Yeah, it could be quite good.
Right, next up we've got Sage Eye Harrier, which is a 5-drop, 4 colourless, and a white for a 1/5 with flying bird warrior. So this has got the warrior ability to start with. Just looking at it, 5 for a 1/5 with flying isn't 100% balanced. Maybe it's a little bit on the weak side. It has got flying, and you can use the morph ability and bring it into play for 1 colourless less later on. So turn 3 you can play it for whatever you've got, and then turn 4 you can then morph it. So nice little defender in flying anyway. It can block some limited flying attack. 1/5 is quite a strong blocker there. I'd have to see this one in play before I made a really educated decision on it.
I can only think that it's mostly there for blocking opposing creatures with flying. It's not terribly good. So next up we have Salt Road Patrol. 3 colourless, 1 white for a 2/5 human scout creature with Outlast. 4 mana for a 2/5 is reasonably priced. Its power is a bit lacking, but it's a pretty good blocker. However, its Outlast ability means that you can block with it, except it doesn't, because of course it can only be used as a sorcery.
Yeah.
So it does slightly hinder its ability as a blocker.
The downside to this is it doesn't have any +1/+1 counter effects.
Yeah.
I think if you're squeezing this into a deck, it's going to be one of the first cards that you drop when you're looking at things. Alright, it's got the Outlast ability, you can ramp it up to a 3/6, but you can't do more than 1 a turn because you're tapping it, and then you've tapped it down for a turn. I don't know, I think this one's a little bit too pricey for what you get.
There are much better cards.
Then we've got Seeker of the Way, which is a 2-drop, 1 colourless, 1 white, 2/2 with the Prowess ability. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it gets +1/+1. And it's also got another inbuilt ability. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Seeker of the Way gains lifelink until end of turn. So that bounces off the Prowess. It gives it +1/+1, so it's a 3/3 and lifelink. And if you're playing a non-creature spell, something in green that buffs it even higher, giving it lifelink. And just 2/2 for a 2 mana for a 2/2, I say is bargain. With those additional abilities, I like this card. I think this should be, if you're playing Prowess, definitely a worthwhile card. Even if your deck isn't built around Prowess, I think it could be worth putting this in if you're playing white.
I think it's a great card. I agree. If you're playing white, you play it, because you're probably only playing at least a couple of non-creature spells, aren't you? And just getting a 3/3 with lifelink on top of casting whatever you're casting Yeah, I like it. I like him a lot. So next up we have Siegecraft. 3 colours, 1 white for an enchantment aura. Enchanted creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+4. It's quite a steep cost, but it's very ingrained with white, buffing the toughness more than the power. It still gives you a reasonably high amount of power. +2/+4 is nothing to sneeze at. Not a bad card. Quite steeply priced for what you'd like, though.
Yeah, I mean, it would be quite useful with the prowess ability. Play it before you attack. So play it on Seeker of the Way. That means Seeker of the Way becomes a 5/7 until end of turn with lifelink. That's a bomb right there. I think it could be a handy card if you build your deck with it in mind when you're playing it. Just splashing it wouldn't be the best of abilities. Then we've got an old reprinted card, Smite the Monstrous, which is a 4-drop, 3 colourless, 1 white, instant destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. Yeah, it's a good card. Getting rid of some of your opponent's bombs is amazing in limited. They play something, right, that's my game wrapped up, you're going to lose. Then you just play that and it resets the board again. And they've basically wasted their turn because they brought out something so big they've tapped all their mana.
Yeah, definitely. Brilliant in limited, not so great in constructed. So next up we have Suspension Field. 1 colourless, 1 white for an enchantment. When Suspension Field enters the battlefield, you may exile target creature with toughness 3 or greater until Suspension Field leaves the battlefield. So what we have here is a low costing semi-Oblivion Ring styled. Now it only affects creatures, and it only affects creatures with toughness 3 or greater. So it's very useful against your opponent's larger bombs, and at 2 mana, that's a pretty good bargain, even for its precision countdown of what you can and can't target. I'd say this is pretty useful.
Cheaper than Spite the Monstrous.
Yeah.
So you're only paying 2 mana for basically what Spite does, unless your opponent's then got enchantment removal, which then they've got to spend money to get it back, so... I quite like it. For a 2-drop, I think that's quite a handy card for late game.
Yeah.
You're not going to be splashing a lot of your mana that you've got by the time they're getting out these creatures, so it could be quite useful for control. Plus, it's another answer to gods, because you're not destroying them, you're just exiling them. Once they turn into a creature, right, I'm going to exile it. Boom. Okay, next up we've got to Take Up Arms, which is a 5-drop, 4 colourless, 1 white. Instant, put 3 1/1 white warrior creature tokens onto the battlefield. If you're playing warrior orientated, really good card. 5 for 3. 3 in essence isn't amazing, but if they're instantly getting buffed as soon as they hit the battlefield, it could be worth it.
Yeah. The fact it's an instant is why, or one of the major reasons why its mana cost is so high. Instant speed, token generation is pretty strong. It is steeply costed, I agree, but it's not bad. So next up we have Timely Hordemate. This is 3 colourless, 1 white human warrior creature. It's a 3/2. It has Raid. When Timely Hordemate enters the battlefield, if you attacked with a creature this turn, return target creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's a pretty useful ability. So, again, playing your cards right, you get a 3/2 and one of your early picks that you may have used to chump block one of your opponent's larger creatures or whatever, straight back onto the battlefield. That's pretty good value, I'd say.
5/4 converted power and toughness, I'd say. You're going to get a 2/2 back pretty much for 4 mana.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah. And I think the thing you've got to remember about Raid is if you're playing Magic of a certain level, you're going to be playing most of your creatures after you've attacked anyway. It just means that you've got to be pushing on that raid. You've got to swing every time. Maybe even the creature you lost when you raided, you could just get back for free. Then we've got a Venerable Lamassu, which is a 7-drop, 6 colourless, 1 white, 5/4 with flying. Yeah, 7 for a 5/4 with flying. I don't think that's costed enough, but this is going to be your bombing limited. If you can get this out, then that's the game wrapped up. That's 4 turns of flying attack and you've won. Yeah, you're not going to see it played outside of limited, I don't think, but if you do pull it, I would put it in your deck because that's going to win you the game.
Yeah, I agree. It's a strong creature. It definitely is costed quite steeply, but you're right, a 5/4 with flying is going to win you games if you play it right. So next up we have War Behemoth. 5 colourless, 1 white for a 3/6 beast creature with morph for 5. So once again, another example of a creature you play down early game for the 3 mana as a 2/2 colourless creature, beat your opponent's face in a bit with that, and then when you need to perhaps save it from being killed by a blocker or using it as a blocker, you pay the 5, turn it face up, get a 3/6. It's alright. It's a lot of mana to pay for a 3/6 with no other real abilities. Kind of a stock morph creature, really.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this card. It's a cheap morph creature.
Yeah.
You're going to see a lot of these for each of the abilities. Your common one that carries this is going to be quite expensive, and people are going to play it because they think they're going to build a morph deck. It depends what you're affecting with your 2/2 creatures, which we'll probably get onto with the artifacts and stuff later on. So yeah, maybe if you need a bomb, it could be quite useful. It's not going to win you games on its own, but it will help you defend against the bigger creatures that are attacking when you've got that 6 defense. So next up we've got Watcher of the Roost, which is a 3-drop, 2 colourless, 1 white, 2/1 bird soldier with flying. So 3 for a 2/1 with flying isn't too bad, but this is the special morph ability where you can pay the 3 to put it face down, and then all you've got to do is reveal a white card from your hand to turn it face up. And when it's turned face up, you gain 2 life. So it's 3 colourless mana to get out in play if you've got another white card in your hand. 3 colourless for a 2/1 with flying isn't bad, and it gives you 2 life. All you're doing is showing someone that you've got a white card in your hand, which, if you play the right white card, could be a little bit onto your side of things. I don't know. This is another card that I kind of need to see in action to make a good decision on it.
Yeah, it makes the morph efficient, really, just revealing a card. But you're right, it gives your opponent information, which you don't often want to do. And here we come to our last white card, Wingmate Rock. This is 3 colourless, white for a 3/4 bird creature with flying and raid. When Wingmate Rock enters the battlefield, if you attacked with a creature this turn, put a 3/4 white bird creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Whenever Wingmate Rock attacks, you may gain 1 life for each attacking creature. So, once again, playing your cards in the right order, for 5 mana, you get 2 3/4 flying creatures. On top of that, whenever the Wingmate Rock attacks, you gain 1 life for each attacking creature. If you're playing a raid deck, you're probably going to be attacking with a fair number of creatures, hopefully attacking every turn. Not bad. I quite like this guy.
That's the reason why it's a mythic rare.
Yeah.
You're not going to see many of these in play, I don't think, but this is probably going to be one of the cheap, the most common mythic rares that they've got. It's a fairly cheap mythic rare. I'd be quite happy with that being a rare, to be honest.
Same. But I think when it comes to limited, if you play that guy, he's going to win you a lot of games.
Okay then guys, well that's our white roundup for the cards. Check out the rest of our videos. We'll be doing the rest of the colours and the artefacts and all that kind of stuff. Something for you to get a handle of before you go to your pre-release or your release next weekend. Thank you for watching.
Thanks guys, until next time.